Hey there, zombie flesh eaters. I'm nervous. It's October, which means it's officially spooky season. In honor of the most wonderful time of the year, I've taken some time out between my larger video projects to bring you a quick look at something I've wanted to cover for many years now. Dead of the Brain, Shinryo no Sakebi, or Scream of the Dead. If you're here, you're probably aware of Dead of the Brain, or at least heard its comically awkward title. First released in April 1992 for the PC-98, with MSX2 and X68000 ports coming a few months later, followed by an FM Towns port in 1993, Dead of the Brain is a zombie horror adventure following 24-year-old scumbag Cole and his best friend, the eccentric Dr. Cougar, as the pair get caught up in a zombie apocalypse that may or may not be their own fault. As a PC Engine obsessive, I first became aware of Dead of the Brain back in June of 1999, when a compilation of Dead of the Brain and its sequel, aptly titled Nightmare Collection Dead of the Brain 1 and 2, was the final PC Engine Super CD-ROM ROM game to ever officially release, years after the console was all but discontinued. Published by NEC themselves, no less. I drooled over the screenshots and did my utmost to track down a copy, but at the time it retailed for about $99, way out of my little teenage wallet's reach. I'll get a second-hand copy when I'm a big grown-up boy. Yeah, it's nice to have dreams. $99 seems pretty quaint today. Anyway, it was around 2002 when I purchased a bunch of Super CD-ROM ROM CDRs, including Dead of the Brain 1 and 2, for $1 a pop from a somewhat unscrupulous guy's website. The internet was a much smaller place in those days, and I was just happy to be able to check the game out for myself, bootleg or not, and I bungled my way through both titles with a cursory idea of what was going on. Since those long-gone days, Dead of the Brain has received a handful of unlikely fan translations. First in 2019 by an individual calling themselves Retronomicon. This patch received a lot of buzz when it first released, which quickly turned to backlash when it was discovered to secretly be a wildly inaccurate machine translation with some shoddy hacking to boot. To make things particularly egregious, Retronomicon had been soliciting funds through a Patreon for their quote-unquote translations, and soon shut down their whole operation and fled the internet in disgrace. Two further translations came in 2023. Hacking group Wine released a patch for the PC-98 original, while David Shadoff and Matt's Messy Room, who previously translated my beloved Maison Ikoku, translated just the first game in the PC Engine collection. At the time of recording, Wine have just released a patch for Dead of the Brain 2, something they were adamant they weren't going to do. But that's for another time. But first, who is FairyTale, and what is the Nightmare Collection? Well, I hope you don't mind if we go on a bit of a tangent here. FairyTale was an imprint of Kirara, who themselves were a former subsidiary of Eroge publisher Jast. Yes, that Jast, who split off in 1987 out of a desire to make even dirtier games than they had under Jast, with names like Hot Milk, or Dangerous Female Disciple of Physical Science. They even developed an ADV adaptation of Urotsukidoji, albeit closer to Maeda Toshio's original body manga than the body horror-heavy OVA traded back and forth by many edgy weebs during the 1990s. Despite this, the company still co-produced a handful of games, and the final game developed in conjunction between Jast and Kirara may ring a bell to those of you familiar with video game obscenity cases. Kirara is the studio who, under this same FairyTale imprint, were responsible for Saori, Bishoujo Tachi no Yakata, aka Saori, the Mansion of Beautiful Girls, in 1991. An eroge that caused such an outcry that Japanese software legislation would be forever changed. Now I have to acknowledge my source for this segment, the academic collection Rated M for Mature, Sex and Sexuality in Video Games, edited by Matthew Wysocki. In particular, Chapter 2, Beyond Rapelay, Self-Regulation in the Japanese Erotic Video Game Industry, authored by Jérémy Pelletier-Gagnon of the University of Alberta and Martin Picard of the University of Montreal. Saori follows the titular high school girl who, while passing through a public park, bears witness to a couple engaging in some pretty inappropriate action for a public place. After returning home, she can't get the image out of her head, and that night she finds herself abducted by two men wearing matching tuxedos and white theater masks, who take her to a mansion ruled over by a sadistic older woman. It's within the mansion that Saori develops the psychic ability to witness the memories of the former tenants, and bears witness to all manner of depraved acts seen in Vignette. Perhaps not entirely dissimilar to Desaad's 120 Days of Sodom or its loose adaptation Salo by Pasolini, Saori was a pretty audacious piece of software, particularly due to the fact that it completely lacks mosaic over the most explicit content, in violation of Japanese Criminal Code Article 175, Distribution of Obscene Objects. Saori may well have flown under the radar under the informal honor of the pervert, until something happened. A junior high school boy from Kyoto decided he absolutely had to have a copy of Saori for himself, and, being underage, shoplifted a copy from a local game shop. The shopkeeper called the police, the boy was caught and arrested, and his copy of Saori was seized and, I suppose, fired up by curious cops. And let me tell you, they didn't like what they found. The Miyazaki Tsutomu otaku serial murder case was still fresh in the mind of both the public and the judicial system by 1991, and viewed through the lens of its surrounding moral panic, Saori was determined to be actively detrimental to society. Borscht. The presidents of both Jast and Kirara were arrested under Article 175, and Kirara recalled all copies of Saori, which underwent a massive overhaul of self-censorship, removing male characters from sex scenes and heavily applying mosaic. The case, later known as the Saori Incident, eventually led software manufacturers to create the Ethics Organization of Computer Software, or Sofurin, in order to self-regulate and avoid messy legal troubles, an entire decade before Japan's own SERO rating system. There's no lawful requirement to submit a game for rating by Sofurin, but their age classification, and their massive 18+ stickers displayed prominently on game boxes, would ease the minds of distributors that they weren't about to run afoul of Article 175 themselves, just for stocking certain games. Anyway, not too long after the Saori incident, Kirara and Jast parted ways for good, and at the end of 1991, Kirara rebranded as IDES in an effort to get further away from the bad press. In April of the following year, IDES published Dead of the Brain. Dead of the Brain eschews much of FairyTale's usual erotic content in favor of splatter gore, but there's still some TNA for their usual audience. This is a command-based adventure game, and the commands are right on screen all the time as part of the game's UI. They don't get used nearly as much as I'd like, but I love a big chunky stylized interface. Look at this go button, like I'm taking too long in Streets of Rage.
Densha de go!
The act of playing Dead of the Brain is not too dissimilar to Snatcher, although with far less text and world building of Kojima's cult hit. There's even some light, and I mean very light, shooting segments. In fact, it's clear that Dead of the Brain owes a great debt to Snatcher, with some visual flourishes, a few background nods, and some late-game plot developments that don't make a lot of sense. But we'll get to those later. The other clear inspirations here are Stuart Gordon and Brian Yuzna's Re-Animator films, and Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead. All of these movies are stupid and a lot of fun. It's a shame we never got the Re-Animator and the White House sequel, and Return of the Living Dead has a killer death rock soundtrack. Scenario and direction were handled by Rush Team, a writing group consisting of Nakai Shinya and Maisaka Toshiaki, while visuals were handled by Tomboy, a graphic design company closely associated with IDES, which counted numerous talented artists among their staff. The real star talent here is character designer Makino Ryuichi, a prolific key artist, illustrator, and animator who later provided the character designs for Battle Athletes, and who's worked on everything from Char's Counterattack to the 2014 Yokai Watch movie. Sound design was handled by two composers, the mysterious Marina, who I can't find anything about, and Takami Ryu, under the pseudonym Ray, who'd later be known for his work at ELF, collaborating with the late great Umimoto Ryu on games like Yuno and Eve Burst Error. The rest of the staff, many of whom were pseudonymous, were IDES employees who worked on many FairyTale projects before either bowing out of the industry at the turn of the millennium or dropping the pseudonym to work on games deemed to be more quote-unquote respectable. It's really impossible to tell. As for FairyTale, they're still around today, but as genres changed, they've dropped the adventure game trappings in favor of the more popular visual novel eroge format. Dead of the Brain was the first game released under the label Nightmare Collection, FairyTale's explicit horror imprint. 3 games would bear this brand. This game, Marine Filth, a gory cyberpunk thriller riffing on Alien, and Dead of the Brain 2. Curiously, these weren't the only horror games FairyTale produced during this period. Dracula Hakushaku and Necronomicon released roughly in the same window as the Nightmare Collection, and while there is a little bit of staff overlap, those projects were led by different people. So perhaps the Nightmare Collection was a label specifically created for games handled by Rush Team. So let's get to the game itself. This is your jumping off point before spoilers. If you'd like to play the game for yourself first, I've put a link to the patch in the description. We open with Halloween music on a nearly blank screen, with a corner of the room conspicuously spotlit, likely out of hardware constraints on how to effectively fade in. Our POV character, Cole, has apparently been out painting houses all night long, and soon receives a call from his unlikely best friend, the eccentric Dr. Cougar, requesting that we come over right away to witness his latest scientific breakthrough. The good doctor himself greets us at the door, afraid that his neighbors might hear the doorbell. It's some doorbell. After the passing of his wife, Doc became obsessed with the idea of overcoming death itself and threw himself deep into research in his home lab. He believes he's finally made a breakthrough, and to demonstrate, we get a literal cat scare. This is Kitty, the big purple cat, who died of old age, only to be revived as a test subject of Cougar's resurrection serum. He shoots it to stop it from moving, in a staggeringly disrespectful send-off to a beloved pet. Cougar explains that while he's managed to successfully revive his subjects, the only problem is their physical strength doubles and they go feral with rage, as if they have rabies. Kitty's indignities aren't over just yet, as Cougar injects more serum to revive the big purple sweetie once again. But sure enough, the fuzz is at the door. It's Officer Jack Keithman from the 16th Precinct, here to investigate screaming cats and gunshots. Cole stuffs Kitty in the fridge before coming out to tease Officer Jack about ghosts shrieking in the graveyard, and Jack says he hopes the stray cats don't mistake us for a salad. A salad? Just before calling his investigation a night, Officer Jack asks to check in the fridge. And when he opens it up, Kitty bounds out on her third wind, tearing out his throat and tearing her own body apart in the process. Cougar has the bright idea to inject Jack, expecting docility because humans aren't natural hunters, like cats. We get this cool timer counting the seconds upwards, and after 34 seconds, Jack stirs, rising from the ground, hands outstretched like an Ed Wood monster. Cougar packs up his serum, and he and Cole tear out of the house, fleeing through the nearby graveyard with its half-backwards sign and naughty graffiti, Jack in hot pursuit. You can see where this is going, can't you? Cougar stumbles ass over tea kettle, sending his serum flying and smashing across Stephen King's grave. The author rises from the dirt as his hand rots off and crawls away on its own. It's suddenly stopped in its tracks by something sharp, and we get the late title card. Welcome to the Nightmare Collection. This pixel art is really to die for, and like the best of the PC-98 library, makes excellent use of its limited color palette. Back at Cole's house, Cougar reassures Cole that the serum hasn't been perfected yet and should soon wear off, returning Jack to the sweet embrace of death. Once it's safe, these two knuckleheads can turn themselves in for their crimes. And then control is turned over to the player for the first time. Dead of the Brain is the type of command-based ADV that forces you to exhaust all of your options multiple times before you're allowed to move to the next scene. The game is adamant that you read every single line of text, sometimes more than once, and very little of it is worth reading. Once we've looked around and talked to Doc enough times, Cole's girlfriend Sheila arrives, a vision in pink, with a big yellow lady bow perfectly coordinated with her blonde mane. Sheila reports the neighborhood outside the train station was ransacked and full of weirdos staggering around. She thought they might have just been drunk, but she said they smelled like rotting flesh and were covered in blood. Boy, things happen fast. Cougar elbows Cole not to tell Sheila anything, which he promises for all of 5 seconds. We pick up the phone to shop ourselves to the cops, but 911 just returns a busy line. Before we can get through to them, a zombie bursts through Cole's nice Venetian blinds, blood dripping from its mouth. This ain't Officer Jack. Cougar pops off a few shots, but they barely slow the creature down. Out of bullets, and with no other recourse, the trio flee to find the town is overrun with the living dead. Each time we change locations, we're presented with this little map screen, which is essentially a bit of flavor. You can only ever click on your next destination, which in this case is the 16th Precinct. The precinct is as quiet as a church and as dark as night. The doors have been smashed in, but there's a single light coming from an upstairs window. Inside, the lobby is full of death. Ruined cops on the floor, the desk, from the windows to the walls to the blood dripping down the halls. Each skull has been smashed open like an overripe cantaloupe, which seems oddly deliberate, but the lack of intact brains suggests they may not zombify. Cole heads upstairs alone to investigate the light. The second-floor hallway is as bright as can be, only serving to highlight the lashings of blood leading up and down the corridor, bloody handprints on the walls of those who struggled to get away. The heartbeat sound effects track is a nice touch. The first few rooms are empty. We find a flashlight in the meeting room, and the chief's office contains a note that reads, "Evacuation Site, Central Hotel 216. Moving further in, the 911 dispatch office is full of brutalized corpses. We try to use the radio, and we end up calling a zombie who verbally affirms their desire for brains. Cole thinks they may need brains to live. We all need brains to live, Cole. The interrogation room has one of Dead of the Brain's more famous CG images, a lovingly detailed close-up shot of a suited detective clutching a pistol, gray matter exposed. The room's been turned over, papers scattered everywhere, an ashtray overturned with butts all over the floor. The detective still has his wallet, but we don't inspect it for an ID or anything because Dead of the Brain doesn't particularly care who its corpses are. There's a foreboding door at the end of the hall, pitch black inside, the smell of gunpowder hanging in the air. Since we picked up the flashlight, we can shed some light on the situation, revealing a very creepy scene of empty shelves and a trail of fresh, wet blood leading to the back around the corner. And if this is your first time playing Dead of the Brain, you probably won't be able to go any further. Remember what I said earlier about having to use every verb multiple times? Well, you can't advance down this conspicuous hallway until you've looked at every chair, every piece of furniture, and even the fire extinguisher multiple times. Honestly, the game doesn't give you a whole lot to click on, and feels a little half-hearted at dragging things out while offering little in return. But eventually we hit our quota of looking, and we're allowed to follow the blood trail. We investigate depressingly empty shelves, drawers, and closets for far longer than necessary, and head back empty-handed, only to be ambushed! Honestly, this looks great. This zombie cop with his nasty decaying nails, nose torn off, skin peeling from his blood-spurting skull. It's the return of the timer, counting down this time, signaling the game's first action sequence, where you have to click on the correct hotspot under threat of death. In this case, we give him the old Mo Howard. As Cole scrambles to escape, he slips on the bloody floor and can't get up. Eye-poked cop advancing, arms outstretched like he's Bella freaking Lugosi. It's another action sequence, and one in which Dead of the Brain plays in a bit of a dirty pool. These shelves were as barren as the Sahara, as we were forced to investigate them so many times less than 5 minutes ago, but now it contains a loaded handgun. We grab it and pop the cop's top clean off his blop. I really wanted that to rhyme. I'm so sorry. Cole, the genius, realizes the head must be the zombie's weak point and scrambles downstairs to tell Doc, even though I'm pretty sure they discussed this earlier. Oh, yeah, they did. Back downstairs, Doc and Sheila are in the precinct's library, poring over textbook after textbook, with a fancy little tasseled cloth bag at the ready. Apparently this is a sheathed katana Cougar lifted from the evidence locker, as he's up on the latest techniques thanks to his niece who loves samurai movies. Oh, brother. Aside from his action movie fantasies, Cougar appears to be poring over some corporate tax records, but we don't get much more detail than that. Cole reports on crushing the zombie's eyes and describes the experience as cool, but warns that it was still able to track him easily even after being blinded. Cougar and Cole mull over the idea that eating brains may extend a zombie's life, but with no other leads, the trio decide to follow the note to the evacuation center at Central Hotel, which Sheila describes as a second White House for foreign diplomats and leaders. Apparently it's near the Needle River, which sounds like a water park that doubles as a safe injection site. I really love this ominous view of the hotel, which appears to be undergoing renovation, plastic sheeting flapping violently in the night wind. The door is locked with a keypad, but all we have to do is enter the code from the note we found, 216. Ooh, 3-digit code, huh? Couldn't spring for the 4th digit for that little bit of extra security? Inside, the hotel is dark, its windows bulletproof glass, as expected for such an important location. The 2nd and 3rd floors are both flashing on the reception terminal, suggesting where we should head next. Opening the door to the 2nd floor, we come face to face with a bemulleted zombie, lip torn. We slam the door shut. Something got in here, and it killed everybody. Hope shattered. Before we can get up to the 3rd floor, our friend forces the door open again briefly. I really like this. 3rd floor shows no sign of a struggle, until somebody shouts behind us to freeze. This broad-shouldered, tiny-featured man, dressed like Vernon from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, is Detective Killer. Alright, man. He's one of the few members of the 16th Precinct to make it out alive, and is relieved to find more survivors. Killer brings us in to meet the rest of the team. Leading the pack is Richard Gree, aka Ghoul, the broad-shouldered chief of Precinct 16, who somewhat resembles Geese Howard.
Predictable!
Ghoul's a pretty good nickname for a cop. The self-serious lady is Sally, who Cole can't help but ogle. Helpful and resourceful, she's the crew's tactician. She was an aerobics instructor before the outbreak, which surprises Cole because she wears glasses. Ray looks like J.G. Thirlwell, who is my Elvis. His leather ensemble signifies he's a former member of the Bloody Fox motorcycle gang. They're a chaotic evil group of marauding raiders. He left because he's got a rude tude, but deep down, he's a nice boy. Supposedly, he's being extorted into participating in this group by Ghoul, who's aware he committed Grand Theft Auto in the past. Both Ray and Sally claim that one has a crush on the other. The big guy's Nose, a former military man with a frightening physique but a heart of gold. He is a total lunkhead who sees fit to vocalize that he doesn't think he can lift a tank. We've already met Killer, the man who almost shot us. Killer speaks of his compatriots as if they're a battle-hardened team with years of experience together. Sally's penchant for planning, Ray's skill in battle. He even claims to have saved Nose from certain death multiple times, but supposedly they only met for the first time tonight. It's a pretty big mess. Last but not least, there's Kathy, a shy and reserved young woman who's not having a great time. A little younger than the rest of the crew, Kathy worked some sort of unspecified restaurant job before the outbreak. We're quickly accepted into the fold, and Sally distributes party favors of a room key, gun, and a grenade to Cole, Sheila, and Cougar. Ghoul invites us to get settled in our rooms. Nose stops Cole on the way out to apologize for Ray's bad attitude. He's been a little shirty because his zombified girlfriend is hanging out on a lower floor. Nose requests that we put her out of her misery for Ray, and Cole immediately says, "I don't want to help Ray." But I do it because I'm not Cole. Then he starts commenting on Sheila's body, and Cole pretends to get mad, but the pair laugh it off, and he offers to take us to a buffet if we carry out this task. Ray's girlfriend is wearing a certain necklace, so we're to keep an eye out for that when we head downstairs. Back in our room with Cougar and Sheila, Cole complains about the quality of the room itself, and Cougar thinks he's seen Killer before, but can't put his finger on where. Sheila is a really bad character. Her primary role is clutching her bow, worrying about Cole, and insisting that she's a burden. Soon, Sally briefs us that there's 4 confirmed zombies downstairs, and we can't return until they're all dead. Cougar, feeling responsible, insists on joining Cole with his samurai sword. It's a pretty grim sadosexual scene on the second floor, with a nude woman tied by the ankles from the ceiling, one of her arms dismembered and fallen on the floor. While the zombies probably ripped her limb off, the bondage setup seems a little ambitious for the undead to pull off. In the next room, we find two zombies feasting on a body. Shoot their heads off, no problem. The third room gives us this great set piece of a zombified woman wearing a certain necklace, nibbling the brains straight out of a guy's head. Killing this one's pixel perfect, and will probably cause you some problems at first blush. You need to click right in the dead center of the forehead, not too high, not too low. But even if you do mess up, fortunately this game is very generous in its checkpointing. Once we do kill her, Cole is overcome with guilt, and takes a closer look at her necklace. On the end is a pendant with a photo of Ray inside. We definitely helped his girlfriend pass on, but when Cole makes the move to retrieve her necklace, Cougar stops him and also tells him to keep the whole thing a secret from Ray. I thought the whole point of this was to help Ray get closure, but whatever. We'll just let him continue to believe his girlfriend's suffering down here, slowly starving to death as she runs out of brains to eat. 3 down, 1 left. The next few rooms are empty. As we futz around looking for things we don't need, the final zombie grabs Cougar from behind and gives his chrome dome a little chomp. We turn and fire, but it manages to run away. The damage is done. Cougar's been bitten and has no chance. He apologizes for causing this catastrophe before asking us to kill him before he turns. Cole obliges and gives a brief obituary to his best friend before moving back into the hallway to stalk his prey. We follow the sound of moaning into a room and it's hiding behind the door to ambush us. Look at this guy. He gets us by the throat and Cole drops his gun. Just as we're about to lose consciousness, a spike pierces the zombie's head. A voice from off-screen says, "That was close." Yeah, I've seen this before too.
That was close.
We are introduced to a very cool guy here. Red blazer, blue dress shirt, unbuttoned to a deep V. This is Kane, a cool name for a cool guy. A lone wolf survivor, he's unaffiliated with the Ghoul Squad and claims to be a journalist after a big scoop. He's from the next town over and tells us zombies wiped it out a month ago. But wait a minute, Cougar only dropped the serum tonight, so what's all this about? Kane wonders if Cougar was secretly testing the serum a month ago, but Cole insists Doc was no liar. Kane thanks us for the info and promises to keep things under wrap for us. Back upstairs, we have to break the news to Sheila. She breaks down and initially blames Cole in her grief. After we console her, she shows us a key with a big old key ring that she received from Cougar. She doesn't know what it's for, Cougar didn't say, and she asks us to hold on to it. She believes she's seen it before inside Cougar's house, though. The couple end the day canoodling in bed, with Cole wondering if the media's been suppressed to curb panic. The next morning, the rain beats against the window, and Sheila's gone, leaving behind a note that she went to the market alone to get food, and she took the gun with her. Oh boy. Checking in with the rest of the crew, Ghoul tells us this insane story about the time he carried out a drug bust, only to be faced with his drug-addicted daughter. She fired at him, and he shot at the ground to scare her away. He says some pseudoscience line about it taking 5 years for a typical junkie to regain their higher brain function. Sally asks us to check up on Kathy, but no funny business. When we do, she says she sees Cole like a big brother, but then immediately flips to saying she misses her dead boyfriend and has been waiting for a big man like him to hold her. It's a bit more than holding, because she strips down to her skivvies. This lady's obviously in a vulnerable position, so who better to serve as the subject of Dead of the Brain's single H scene? You can choose not to do this, but if you do, you get a brief, very light sex scene. Cole and Kathy promise not to tell Sheila, and that's it. It doesn't affect the story in any way, and it doesn't really ever come up again, so I guess it's there for the player. Feels pretty grody though, especially as Sheila's out finding food for you. I hate you, Cole. Anyways, after banging or not banging Kathy, Cole worries that Sheila isn't back yet, and we then switch to Kane's POV, who's exploring the city, standing outside a busted-up shop called Makino's? McCookno's? I thought it was a McDonald's, but it's actually a department store that sells weaponry, like a Walmart. Inside is a single Uzi and clip left behind. Kane is pretty clueless and doesn't know which bullets fit in the gun or even how to really hold it. I kinda like this because it's human. He also thinks if you put the bullets in backwards by mistake, they'll fly out of the back and into your own chest. Kane is a great himbo. But soon the silence is broken by a woman's scream. We get this pretty rough scene of two Bloody Fox members assaulting Sheila. We shoot one in the face, and the other begs for mercy. Sheila, kind-hearted as ever, asks Kane to spare him, but it's all a ploy. The Bloody Fox pulls a gun, and we have to waste him too, using up all our bullets. I guess this Uzi was a bit of a Shaggy Dog story, but at least we got to save Sheila while her boyfriend was busy banging somebody he just met. Kane puts two and two together that this is Cole's girlfriend. He passes on a message for Cole to meet him in the hotel parking lot at 10 p.m. Meanwhile, he has things to investigate on his own. Sheila makes it back to the hotel, and Cole gives her an earful on being late, but she explains she was attacked and Kane saved her. In my game, Sheila smells Kathy's perfume on Cole, and he plays it off, but that's the end of it. With a few hours until our appointment with Kane, Cole and Sheila head to Doc's house to find out where this mysterious key goes. Cougar's home is in disrepair, its facade overgrown with ivy, and its interior walls showing cracks and exposed brickwork. He seemed to operate out of a single room, using the living room as both a study and a bedroom, despite having an entire detached home. Cougar has a second study, full of books. There's a painting of a flower vase here on the wall, and when we find a nearby remote control, it slides out of the way, revealing a safe. You know, I thought for sure we were going to get a Snatcher vase homage back when we saw a similar painting in the Precinct, but now's as good a time as any. Doc's big key fits the safe, but behind the lock is a keypad. As we search around for possible codes, we find a picture of Cougar and his wife when they were young. It's dated 10/20, Mary's birthday. Sure enough, this code opens the safe, revealing a diary and an envelope. The envelope contains a photo of Cougar at a conference with other scientists from February 6th of this year, roughly 2 months prior to the start of the game. In the diary, we learned about how Cougar was mocked at this conference, but roughly a month later, somebody ransacked his lab and stole the serum. He suspects it may have been somebody present at the conference, and Cole notices the dates match up with Kane's report of zombies appearing a month prior. Cougar was forced to start over from scratch, and a week prior to the start of the game, writes that he's going to release the drug now to stay ahead of the thieves, even though he hasn't solved the rabidity problem. I think Cougar might be the one who's dead of the brain here. If we take a second look at the photo, we can see who appears to be Killer standing in front of Doc, wearing a white lab coat. Kane remembers Cougar mentioning he believes he recognized Killer from somewhere, but before we can ponder it any further, it's time to rendezvous with Kane. Kane isn't surprised to hear what we found at Doc's. After parting from Sheila, he went to investigate the 16th Precinct himself, and turned up a lot more dirt than we did. Killer's desk contained a lot of paperwork on Cougar, alongside a vial of clear liquid believed to be the stolen resurrection serum. Kinda crazy we missed this. All signs are pointing to Killer as the thief, but what was his motive? Cole wonders why Killer didn't just kill them all, but Kane wonders if Killer made the zombie kill Cougar. Cole and Kane head back upstairs to confront this new threat. The Heartbeat soundtrack fires up again, and the 3rd floor is completely deserted. Even Sheila's missing from her room. Before long, we run into Ghoul, who's given the order to move to backup HQ, the Needle River Hospital. We introduce Kane to Ghoul, and just as Cole's about to spill what he knows about Killer, Ghoul stops him and tells him to head straight to the hospital. Problem is, there's a load of zombies on the 1st floor. Ghoul orders the CNC zombie factory to take care of it while he slinks out the back door. Why bother if they're abandoning it? It's almost as if Ghoul's setting us up to get munched. The 1st floor is a monster party. No matter how many headshots, they just won't go down. Suddenly, the building's rocked by an explosion, and for some reason, Cole and Kane take the emergency stairs up to an unfinished floor. With no other option, they jump from the stairs into the river, and we get this great little scene of 2 pixels making a big splash as the hotel explodes. Seems like a lot's happened just now, leaving us with far more questions than answers. On our way to the hospital, we hear the sound of a military helicopter behind us. Another hope spot dashed as it opens fire, and we get this great gag manga CG of Kane and Cole running away making goofy faces. It's the first and sadly the last time Dead of the Brain stops taking itself as serious as the grave to embrace its inherently silly nature. The pair hide until the chopper stops circling, and Kane goes off to do something mysterious yet again. Well, here we are at the hospital, and... Alright, look, this is just O'Lean Hospital from Snatcher. Come on! Cole even wonders if it's the right place. Like the precinct, the glass doors have been shattered, and the inside is trashed. The stairs leading up are blocked by an avalanche of rubble. Things aren't looking too good at the supposed backup HQ. Heading into a side room, we find Sally and Ray, naked as jaybirds, gaping holes in their torsos. Deep scratches cut across Ray's back. They look like they both died in agony, and both are clutching guns, oddly both in their left hands. The guns are empty, and there's not a single spent shell casing to be found. Notably, their brains haven't been eaten, but why are they naked? Cole wonders if this scene was staged after the fact. Now, back in the lobby, this is terrible. We use our gun to fire on the debris blocking the stairs, and for the first 2 clicks, Cole says it's no use, and he's behaving foolishly. It isn't until you try this for the 3rd time that he remarks the rubble is breaking up, and by the 4th shot we have a perfectly clear and tidy stairwell. Upstairs, Nose is on the floor, pointing at something off-screen. It's Killer, holding us at gunpoint, who's stripped Sheila naked and taken her hostage. He's surprised to see Cole alive, and immediately admits to killing Sally and Ray. He also claims he killed Kane and Ghoul, and Kathy was vaporized when the hotel was rigged to explode. Killer confirms he's the one who stole Cougar's formula. Things sure happen fast in this game, don't they? What was the point of Sally and Ray dying, or even really existing in the first place? So we take matters into our own hands and put one in Killer's skull. As Nose dies in our arms, he says he'll meet us at Heaven's Buffet. Shrimps on me, big guy. Turns out Nose's gun wasn't even loaded, because he couldn't bear to kill a friend, even if they were evil. His dying message is to tell Sheila he thinks she's hot. He died as he lived, a lovable lunkhead to the end. We run to check on Sheila, who's seemingly been drugged. Against all odds, Killer is still alive. He assures Cole that he didn't hurt Sheila, and he's still alive because he's had a dose of the resurrection drug himself. According to Killer, if the serum is injected into a living human, they're granted eternal life. He then tells us the truth. He didn't kill Ghoul. He's in fact Ghoul's right-hand man, and was injected so as to better aid him. Killer raided Cougar's lab and killed so many people because Ghoul, quote-unquote, threatened to fire him, and he has a family to provide for. Oh my god, just get another job! Ghoul then zombified Killer's family, so I guess he doesn't have to provide for them anymore after all. Apparently all the zombies obey Ghoul's orders, and even good old Officer Jack Keithman was there to kill Cougar on Ghoul's orders, but things went awry when Kitty slashed his throat. Wait. If Jack had already been injected while alive, wouldn't he already be immortal, and immune to Kitty's attack, and also incapable of turning feral? Well, maybe we shouldn't think about this too much, because Rush Team certainly didn't. Killer tells us that Ghoul was the one shooting at us from the helicopter, and was en route to Bayside Research Lab. He asks Cole to take care, warning him that Ghoul has special weapons, and urges him to be a Stallone hero. Then he dies for real. R.I.P. to a real ass. Sheila wakes up just in time to head to the research lab with us. Bayside Research Lab looks great. A mix of massive brutalist architecture with some cyberpunk futurism. It's quite fortified, but Cole spies a back door, moths fluttering around its lights. We head inside to find ourselves in maintenance tunnels, bathed in a faint red hazard lighting. As we proceed, we find a barred door. Inside is Cole and Sheila's mutual friend Terry, who Cole scooped Sheila out from under. He's locked in a cell with other people from the city, like a Saturday morning cartoon villain plot. Terry doesn't respond, and Sheila wonders if he's gone crazy from being trapped in here for so long. I don't even think it's been 48 hours yet. We leave Terry and the townsfolk to it, and emerge into a lab containing some kind of glass capsule with a humanoid form inside of it. We take a closer look, and it's Kane, trapped inside, red, nude, mad, and screaming. We try to get him out until Ghoul appears in the control room. He's manning the controls to Kane's capsule, and he won't let him out. His motivation? This is fun to him. He welcomes Cole to join him in his empire of death, but we refuse and fire on Ghoul, bulletproof glass deflecting our bullet. Ghoul then releases a gas of various chemicals mixed with Cougar's serum into Kane's capsule. Cole relents and promises to join Ghoul if he sets Kane free, but Ghoul says it's too late and gasses Kane anyway. We see the flesh melt off his body. He kinda looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like this, or Genon from Samurai Showdown. Ghoul then releases his concoction into the rest of the lab, giving us 20 seconds to escape. We blow up the machine on the left and run up the stairs into the control room, and there's a number of strange computers and monitors running some sort of program. Before we can figure out what they are, we're ambushed by Ghoul, who takes Sheila hostage once again.
Yo, Rosa.
Seemingly benefiting from the serum himself, he boasts inhuman strength and threatens to rip Sheila's arms clean off her body. Ghoul spills before he kills. He suppressed the media, not too unbelievable in 2025, and left the note in the police station to lure people to the hotel so he could use them in his sick game. The people in the lab's prison are who he plans to torture next. Cole asks about his daughter, and Ghoul laughs at him for believing such a stupid story. With the beans spilled, Ghoul's now going to kill Cole and make some really vile suggestions of his plans for Sheila. We attempt to shoot Ghoul in the head, but he seems to be impervious to bullets. He gives us a little bit more lore here. This is a military research lab, explaining the fortifications, where Ghoul attempted to cut a deal and deliver Cougar's serum. He was subsequently betrayed and shot to death on the spot. But Ghoul had already injected the drug, causing him to revive and be killed over and over again by the lab personnel. Eventually, he had enough and killed them all. Cougar's drug keeps you alive constantly for years, but your body will rot. If you've sustained damage and an infection sets in, that can't be healed. But then some bullets fly from off-screen, tearing the skin off Ghoul's face. It's Kathy, our erstwhile one-night stand, come to save us. As he's distracted, we have the chance to shove a grenade in his gaping mouth. Unless you're me and you accidentally click on the wrong spot and you get a game over and you have to start from the beginning of Ghoul's lore dump. But we make him eat the pineapple and shove him out the window to catch up with Kathy. She avoided the explosion at the hotel by getting lost and meeting up with Kane, and she's already freed Terry and the others from the basement cells. Another explosion rocks the facility. We look out the window to find Ghoul is a straight-up snatcher. He fires a beam from his body, injuring Kathy, and advances on us. Look, now why the f*** is Ghoul an android? Could they really not resist pulling absolutely everything from Snatcher? This doesn't track at all with him being a human injected with serum, and man, just looking for logic here is a mistake. After firing a laser into Cole's shoulder, Ghoul's about to crush his head, but Kathy grabs him from behind, sticking plastic explosives onto his robo-chest. Kathy blows Ghoul to hell, sacrificing herself so manly man Cole could go on living, dropping the silver penny her dead boyfriend gave her. Cole remembers everyone who sacrificed themselves to save him and Sheila, promising to honor their memories. For some reason, he includes Killer in that list. What the hell? Then, Cole walks out of the lab, carrying Sheila in his arms. With a big smile, he asks Sheila if she's up for getting some sushi, relieved that all the loose ends have been tied up, with the woman he cheated with being dramatically blown into tiny pieces of flesh and viscera. It's here that we get the final line of Dead of the Brain, which is Sheila stating, "Let's eat!" The sun rises over the cemetery, and the dead return to the soil. During the credits, Cole and Sheila are heralded as heroes as they walk through town, Cole receiving backpats, Sheila getting flowers put in her hair by the local children. We close on Ghoul's decapitated robot head, its eyes glowing red, as we see the words, "To be continued." Dead of the Brain is essentially a work of erotic grotesque meant to sate a light appetite for anime violence and a little something for daddy. It cares little for the finer points of its story, which is ironic considering just how badly it wants to be seen as an adults-only answer to Snatcher, a game which, while not without its faults, is slavish in its devotion to world-building and intricately plotted mystery. But a game is more than the sum of its parts, and Dead of the Brain absolutely excels at vibes. The chip art, the intensely detailed scenes of gore, the foreboding atmosphere and soundtrack, it still manages to be a compelling experience, so long as you're happy to unfocus your eyes a bit. The closest comparison are the edgier anime OVAs of the 80s and 90s, your MD Geists, your aforementioned Urotsukudojis, your Mad Bull 34s, works that are essentially video nasties. Like its home video siblings, Dead of the Brain is an intensely misogynistic work with little depth, which is to be expected from a studio like FairyTale, but is not without its place in one's media literacy. If you've enjoyed this, it would mean a great deal to me if you'd like and subscribe to my channel. I'm a one-man operation here, from playing the games, to capturing footage, writing the script, and recording and cutting together the entire video. As I'm doing this for myself without any editorial oversight, I pride myself on being as accurate and careful as possible with what I say, and I ensure I credit all of my sources properly. It's the responsible thing to do, after all. If you'd like to inspire me to keep going, or to buy some treats for borscht, you can now purchase a channel membership for 99 cents a month. Or pence. What can you get for 99 cents these days? If you're feeling flush, you can give me a couple of more bucks too. But if giving monthly isn't feasible, I also have a Ko-fi in the description where you can give me a one-off tip. But none of this is required. Whether you tip or not, as long as you're here, you're valued. I hope you'll join me again next time for Dead of the Brain 2.
Impossible!